Watch out, Blue Bloods. Make way for the New Bloods. DeLuna Coffee adds to their Blue Angels collection with their Fat Albert blend, a classic combination of Guatemalan and Brazilian beans. It is truly their roaster's choice. And hey, check it out. K-Cups of it, along with Voodoo and Red, White, and Brew, are buy one, get one free. So go check it out over at DeLunaCoffee.com.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Baby girl, you know that's what them bands do. I be out of pocket, I be acting
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Promo code WARCHANT15. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Thumbs up if you're listening to us on YouTube. 5-star rating and a review would be much appreciated for all of our friends on your Apple iOS devices. Promo code WARCHANT30. Use it. It's going to be a busy weekend. Lots of visitors. Maybe 10 officials this weekend. No rest for the weary. We're not weary. We're always energized because we got the Luna flowing through our veins. We being myself and Corey. Corey, how are you, friend?
I'm good as always, Aslan. How you doing? You hanging in there?
Yeah.
Having a good week? Having a good day?
Yeah, man. Very uplifting to hear you say good as always. Yeah, that's what we need, Corey. Some good vibes. Good vibes.
Right. Exactly right.
Somebody disagreed with my assertion from yesterday's show that the fan base, by and large, is stoked. Or, you know, a little bit, not cautiously optimistic, but optimistic. Lucius on YouTube said, Kool-Aid drinkers and optimists are actually a vocal minority. Most FSU fans are waiting till the season starts to be excited or to even care what happens. Then James B. comes off the top rope. You're so off base. Who made you the authority on how FSU fans feel? So I don't know. I don't agree with Lucius. I think they're a vocal majority. Maybe not.
I would certainly
not 90-10, but maybe like 58-42.
Well, I would argue about the majority of the fan base doesn't care. That is incorrect. Now, whether they're excited or not, talk amongst yourselves. Yeah. You guys all got friends. You got pockets of Florida State fans that are friends. So decide that in your little circle. But almost everyone cares. Now, if we're in the middle of the season and they're 2-4 and you got a wedding you got to go to on a Saturday, you might not skip it to watch this football team. But right now in June, people do care about the program.
Yeah, my good friend, my lawyer friend, I think at some point last season he said, I'm not even going to watch the game. I have to mow the lawn. Like he got to that point. But he gets off the mat. He'll get off the mat every single September for this program and for this team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when October starts rolling around and you're not in the, playoff discussion, or you're not in the feel-good feeling of college football season, yeah, you might get to doing some chores. It's fine, though. We'll welcome you back. We're here for you, folks.
Still rolling with the Kool-Aid drinkers. Guys, if you know the history of the term, it was actually Flavor Aid. It wasn't Kool-Aid that they drank in Jonestown. Anyway.
Well, then we can get away with using Kool-Aid. Then it's not as
I guess,
morbid.
yeah. It's crazy that, Kool-Aid never came out and was like, will y'all please stop doing this? It was not Kool-Aid, guys. It was Flavor Aid. We were never in Guyana. It's called Flavor Aid, folks. So, yeah, they never made that. So now it's just in the lexicon.
Probably somebody from UF made it, broke off the Gatorade, made Flavor Aid, I bet. But they were behind
Good call.
All right, we got some Renegade Express questions to get to, which we shall. But we rolled out the second installment of the top 40. 30 through 21, Corey. 30 through 21. The main photo, the main art, as you folks say in the print industry, was Sidney Williams. And I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about him. But I didn't. I actually ranked him. I ranked him second highest out of the bunch. This I don't know. I thought this might be an exercise we were going to get to that we wouldn't get to until the top 10, that we'd start being like, okay, there's some talent, there's some athletes, there's some playmakers. I'm not that discouraged by this. There's plenty of potential here. Some proven, maybe not as much as you would like it to, but there's also guys that I think it's a practical hope. It's a reasonable hope that they can help a team win 7 games 8 possibly if you're really dreaming big this season. And there's a lot of consensus. The only ones that I think here that don't get a lot of love was Jordan Wilson. You and I did not rank him, and then he checks in at number third. I'm terrible at this. 29. And then Darius Washington, which, spoiler alert, you said that you did not rank him. Otherwise, I think all these guys, well, no, never mind. Mako Dotson. You don't like Mako Dotson either. All right, what do you think about 30 through 21, Corey?
Yeah, kind of the same story as 40 through 31. To me, kind of interchangeable. But there are some, I think in this group, there are some guys that will definitely, I think in 31 to 40, they're kind of like hopeful. I think 21 to 30, there will at least be a few of these guys that contribute a lot. And Sidney Williams might be chief among them. Like, I forgot, I knew he stood out a little bit in the spring, but I forgot his last 2 games. He started the last 2 games and had 8 tackles in each game, which, it's a DB. So maybe that's not the best sign in the world, but it was a guy that showed he could be physical as a freshman. It wasn't afraid of contact. It wasn't afraid to go make plays. He had 16 tackles in the last 2 games, which I have to imagine led the team. So that's impressive. So maybe, but again, it's just such a deep secondary that you wonder how much, where is he going to play, how much time he's going to get. They also had a guy transfer in that's also a physical tackler. So who knows how this year will shape out for Sidney Williams, but you wouldn't be stunned if he works his way into the rotation and ends the season with, 50 tackles and a pick or something like that.
No, absolutely not. Though I was thinking about this the other day when it comes to defensive backs, and we always talk about they're so deep. They have so many options.
Deep as in there's a lot of numbers.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Exactly. That's the kind of point I was trying to make. I think that's probably something every school, though, can say, at least the Power 5 level, because, you're only carrying how many? Like 4 running backs, 3 quarterbacks. I don't know. You want to have 8 wide receivers maybe. But I feel like defensive back right now, like every roster is overloaded with defensive backs because you have so many of them on the field right now, right? Like other than offensive linemen, there's no other position that's got 5 of the same dudes on the field. And I know safeties and cornerbacks are different, but when we talk about the secondary, we're talking about everybody, right? We're not talking about cornerbacks and safeties. So, yeah, you need to load up on dudes, and they have plenty.
I agree with that. I think the difference, though, I'm going to read you the ones that I see on the roster to start with. Okay. Jarvis Brownlee. I'm just going down the roster. Brendan Gant. Jarian Jones. Renardo Green. Miko Dotson. Jamie Robinson. Damori Tate. Brandon Moore. Like, the only one that I've read so far that's never done anything at the college level is Damori Tate. All those other guys, I think what's different and unique about this secondary, as you go down the list, the McClellan kid from Arkansas, Travis J., you go down this list, all these guys have played. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like I wonder if this guy can get on the field. They've all gotten on the field. Sidney Williams, Akeem Dent. Kevin Noles hasn't, but Kevin Noles might have been the best of the bunch in the spring. So I think, as far as the spring game anyway, I think that to me is the biggest difference is how many of those guys have actually been on the field and played. Not necessarily that you're looking at some Sky Patrol like Dion and Leroy Butler from the late 80s or something. It's not overwhelming you with talent. It's just guys that have all had moments and have all played at this level, and I think that's a little bit uncommon to have, what I read off, 9 guys that have started, probably at least 9 that have started or played significant time in college already. That to me is a little bit unique.
Okay, fair enough. When we look at this from, I guess, the overall group ranking, you can see this all on warchant.com. The only thing that I'll raise an eyebrow, because I think there's – I don't want to put words in Ira's mouth, but I can understand what he's thinking when he looks at a guy like Dante Lucas. That's the only thing to me that kind of jumped out from the list that's compiled from you, myself, Ira, Gene Williams, and Jeff Cameron, is that Dante Lucas, who checks in overall 22nd, didn't get a vote from Ira. Ira, no votes. And you put him 16th. I put him 26th. I bet you if you gave Ira like a qualifier, like if Lucas starts week 1, where would you then rank him? I think it's maybe him getting through an offseason, not getting disgruntled, not being in a doghouse. Then everything else will kind of work itself out. But that's a but when we're talking about him right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the thing with Lucas is, he's still just a sophomore. Like, I know he's a redshirt sophomore, but he's still, in the grand scheme of things, He's not an old kid. But the problem is we've seen him so much. He started 7 games as a true freshman. He started 7 more in what turned out to be a redshirt freshman year. So we've seen a lot of him, and you would have hoped that maybe there would have been a substantial jump last year from his freshman year, which he was okay. He had his moments as a freshman, but he's a freshman offensive lineman in the middle of the line. That's a tough ask, especially with the guys he was blocking with. So he was serviceable. And then so far though in his career, you would say he's been a disappointment, not a bust, because he has started 14 games. He has contributed, but he's been a disappointment. We thought that he had a chance to be the next really good Florida State lineman, like a Mauler, like the guys you see at Alabama or Georgia, these kind of places. He had the pedigree coming out of high school. He certainly has the size and the strength and the mentality that you want, but it just hasn't completely clicked yet. But if it does, maybe this is the year. Some guys, grow up faster than others and slower than others. But maybe this is the year it all clicks. This is the prove it year. I guess technically, theoretically, it's a money year for him. But if it clicks for him, what would that mean for the offensive line? It would be huge. I know that's not a what if. We're not doing a what if Dante Lucas is great. No. But I do think that's why I ranked him where I ranked him, is because, look, he has started the last 2 years. He is experienced. He is strong and physical, and they're not overloaded with those types of guys. And I just think I don't know if it's holding out hope, being too optimistic. I think this might be the year where maybe it comes together for him, and he becomes a big-time offensive lineman, like we thought he was going to be when he got here.
It goes back to, I feel good about the offense. I don't feel great, but I wouldn't lose sleep over the offensive line if I was a coach on the offensive side of the ball for Florida State. Because, again, you have Lucas, you have Dylan Gibbons, you have Bavion, and if Thomas Schreier's healthy, out of those 4 guys – and I don't throw Brady Scott in the mix, I guess. I don't know. Did Brady? I'm guessing Brady Scott didn't make the top 40.
No, he did not. He was receiving votes. Others receiving votes.
Look at that. So those 5 guys, you'll find 2 that are more than adequate. And then at tackle, it's not nearly as deep there, obviously. But if you get a transfer here in the next 4 weeks, maybe that helps out. But Darius Washington, he would be that third sort of guy in the puzzle. You didn't have him ranked. I did. But transitioning back a little bit to defense here before we get to the Renegade Express questions. I don't want to give away all of this stuff. And then we'll go through ours real quick, 31 through 20. I like how you said prove it year. That's kind of the verbiage used for Dennis Briggs. Ira, 36. Come on, Ira. Where's the optimism here? Briggs, out of anybody, is the guy that's going to sort of blossom the most, I would think, that's not a newcomer from having a full off season since he opted out. And I don't think if you opted out last season, you were allowed to come and work out in the weight room and do all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So the fact that he kind of hopped back on the train midway through and did all right, and is a guy that can help them inside or outside, I'm a little bit intrigued by him. He's kind of an X-factor wild card. We're talking about Fabian Lovett and Robert Cooper. If Dennis Briggs can give you something, or at least back up like Keir Thomas and be that edge-setting kind of defensive end, that would be a nice lift. 28, I like where he's at on the list, though. 28, I think, is nice. Nice little happy.
I think that's fair. I mean, he certainly hasn't proven it. He had 6 tackles last year, whatever it was. So I know he only played half the season, but in that half the season, he wasn't exactly jumping off the screen at you. But yeah, he, again, sort of a young guy. That's what I guess that's where my hope would lie if I'm a Florida State fan. And I don't think, and I know maybe I use this exact opposite reasoning for Darius Washington. I don't foresee Darius Washington starting. That's why I had him off the list. But I don't think you can just say what Dennis Briggs is or what Dante Lucas is off after 2 years. Because imagine if you'd have done that with DeMarcus Walker.
Yeah. And
maybe DeMarcus Walker is the outlier, but DeMarcus Walker did next to nothing his first 2 years at Florida State. He was a net negative his sophomore year in 14. He was not a good football player. And they were better when he was off the field in 14. And then by 15, he was an all-conference player. By 16, he was an All-American. So guys do get better as they get older, and maybe this is the year that Briggs and Lucas take a big leap. I mean, I don't know that they have DeMarcus Walker ability. That guy's an NFL player. I think he's still in the league.
Yeah,
but maybe there's something in there that just hasn't been tapped into yet, and it's a little too early to give up on these guys. That said, I don't think Dennis Briggs' ceiling is DeMarcus Walker's or Dante Lucas for that matter. But they can go from mediocre college football players, which I think is fair to say for both of those guys, their first 2 years. Certainly not difference makers. Absolutely. They can go from mediocre, average to above average to good college football players. That's usually how it works. So hopefully that happens for those guys. But yeah, they're wild cards. Most of this team is wild cards, man. There is not a lot of proven commodities on this roster, especially guys that have been here for 2 or 3 years, not the transfers.
A little rough on our guy D-Walk, though, there, Corey. Negative as a sophomore. I mean, Mar Edwards and now Lawrence Stample and, Derek Noddy, guys like that were on the defensive
Imagine
line
that defense,
too,
though, and I mean, I know they won all their games, but they certainly were not a dominating defense. Imagine if they had the 2015 DeMarcus Walker on that defense.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That would have been a difference maker. Maybe and I'm being dead honest here, maybe they're not in the Rose Bowl playing Oregon if DeMarcus Walker was the difference maker in 14 that he turned out to be in 15 and 16. If you had two dominant kind of, and Edwards was out of shape a little bit that year. If you had a dominant defensive end on the other side of Edwards to go along with Eddie Goldman, I mean, I think that's a difference maker where all of a sudden maybe you stay somehow, even with the mighty SEC and big bad Mississippi State, you stay the 1 seed and you get to play in New Orleans as opposed to having to go to California. Just throwing that out there. But he was great. DeMarcus Walker was a great college football player his last 2 years.
Absolutely. All right, man, let's roll it out then. Let's start with you, Corey. 30 through 21, or do I need to pull it up for you?
Oh, no, I got it. Hold on. Let me look up. Okay, so 30, I had Ja'Kai Douglas.
Oh.
So who ended up being 31 on the overall list. I think that guy, the way they used him last year, to me, makes me think that they really like him, that he got used so much in a couple of different ways as a freshman that I think he might end up being a pretty big part of their offense.
Okay.
I think obviously quick, guy that can come out of the backfield to catch passes in the slot. So anyway, went with him 30, Brendan Gant 29, Renardo Green 28, Dennis Briggs Jr., not senior, at 27. The great Dylan Gibbons at 26. Thomas Schrader, probably a little too high at 25. I was being optimistic that he would play and play early because I just know how much they like him. Brandon Moore, 24. Emmett Rice, 23. Again, that's more optimism than maybe reality but I do think if Emmett Rice gets healthy and Thomas Schrader gets healthy at some point in the season, that could be big for this football team. Keyshawn at 22 and Jarian Jones at 21.
Brandon Moore was running third string. Do you think that just that's shaken off the rust from being injured, and then by the time we go into August, he's found his form and he's part of like a 2-deep rotation?
Yes, and I again, it's not like he's having to knock off Asante Samuel for one of the starting spots. Like those spots are up for grabs, and the guys that have played well so far or played well in the spring or are running first team in the spring, they don't yet have the resume of Brandon Moore. I just think experience, veteran experience, leadership, everything else, he'll be a big part of the team. Whether he's starting or not, I just foresee him playing a good bit.
Brendan Gant. I like that. That's bold.
Well, look, he's been out there. He's been out there. He's made some plays in his career. He's another guy that's played a lot. Not necessarily well, but has played a lot. You hope these guys take next steps. I would also say, hey, man, we got to throw somebody on this list. It's not like I left off Jalen Ramsey to rank Brendan Gant. Like we got to rank these guys somehow.
Fair enough. All right, for me, 30 through 21, 30 Malik McClain, who you did, you guys on your list, just a little bit lower on your list, but Malik McClain, why not? I get it. I don't. We talked. You mentioned this earlier in the week about at this program, at this school, for some reason, freshman receivers just haven't seemed to have found their way. Yeah, but it's a different coaching staff. I feel like not that he's Rashad, but Rashad got some burn. So, and who else? You want to talk about? You got to put people on this list. I mean, who else is going to be really pulling away playing time from Malik McClain? Like, we have to get this guy the ball. We have to get this guy on the field ahead of Malik McClain. Probably just Andrew Parchment. So 30, Michael McClain, 29, Sidney Williams, 28, Big Bavy. Again, part of your hope, your solution in the middle of your offensive line. Jarvis Brownlee, 27, Dante, 26, Briggs, Jr., 25th. Keyshawn, 24th. He could be sneaky. One year removed from that injury, 1 year further removed from that injury, rather, and you would assume you go 3 wide. He's your slot guy. Why wouldn't he be somebody? Shoot, even though he's your number 3, quote unquote, as your slot guy, maybe he actually gets more looks than whoever lines up opposite Andrew Parchment. Cam McDonald, 23rd. We talk about, what was the term you used for Dennis Briggs and Dante Lucas? Show me year or prove it year? Yeah, Cam McDonald squarely in that. Darius Washington, 22nd. Steven Dix Jr., 21st. Because he's built like Adonis. And I hope when you're built like Adonis, hopefully year 2, maybe you're able to diagnose stuff a little bit better and let your physical tools and skills kind of show out. Because
and again, we the one that made the list, because some of them had some of us have them ranked much higher than others. I did not have them ranked that high. But Dylan Gibbons, the transfer from Notre Dame, I believe. And also, so looking at this, man, so most of these guys that we're looking at are guys that have been here, like they were recruited here. Jordan Wilson wasn't, Miko Dotson wasn't, and Dylan Gibbons wasn't. But as we move on, now that we've revealed the first half of the top 40, the second half, as you might imagine, is flooded with dudes who did not start their career at Florida State. But I wanted to say, Miko Dotson, man, so he is a guy that, his first year in college was 2015.
I did not know
He was
that.
at Georgia Tech in 2015. He's old enough to rent a car, I guess. But not only that, like, he's been around. This will be, I guess, his 7th year removed from high school. His 4th college, because he went to Georgia Tech, JUCO, Florida Atlantic, and now Florida State. And he's such a unique dude because he's had 1 year out of like 7 that was productive at all, where he did anything.
Right.
And in that year, he led the nation in interceptions. So I don't know there's ever been a college career quite like this. 6, 7 years, 4 schools, 2 years where you basically were injured the whole year, and then the 1 year where you're healthy and happy, you lead the nation in interceptions. So he is a big wild card to me, man, because he's obviously proven he can play when he's healthy and on the field. But last year only played in 3 games. He was a non-factor. I forgot he was on the team for large swaths of last season. But he's a guy we got ranked up there because, again, what he did before he got to Florida State. And he's an older dude, clearly. And that's a really interesting guy. And I wonder where he fits in. But he's one of the many transfers that you will hear and see on this list as we unveil it in the next, 8 to 10 days.
And he also doesn't have the stink of being part of that defense last year on him, too. So that's what makes it
right. Yeah, that's what he's saying in meetings. This wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Don't blame me.
Just when you thought the chicken sandwich war was over, it's coming back in a big way with Zaxby's new signature sandwich. It's a double hand-breaded filet, split-top bun, 3 zesty pickles, and if that wasn't enough, it's smothered in Zax sauce, or new spicy Zax sauce. That's right, it's such a big deal, we made a totally new sauce to give it the kick it deserves. The other guys won't know what hit them. The new Zaxby's signature sandwich. Have you tried it yet?
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's indescribably good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
Let's do this. Let's get on the ponies. Renegade Express edition of the program. We begin in Naples. Our guy Mark M. Adam CZ. I'll figure out one of these days. You're not a mad guy. He's optimistic. I'll prove it to you. I'll read his question. Wake up! Aslan, clever move bringing up the Vegas line for projected wins in 2021. Dare I say it? Might put Corey on the spot for a projection on wins. Come on, Corey, do it. As for me, and I'm Mr. Optimism most of the time, this is Mark, not me, but it's hard to put big money on the over. Ooh, Mark, what's going on? My main reasons: 1, large number of transfers who will be playing at Florida State for the first time. That would be a plus, I would think. 2, will the defense at least be serviceable? And 3, it's the schedule. It's brutal. Assuming we beat the likes of Syracuse, Jacksonville State, Wake, and UMass, we still have NC State, Louisville, and Boston College. I think Wake is. I don't know why Wake's on the road, right?
Wake's not in that first group.
Yeah, they're part of NC State, Louisville, BC.
Don't you think you start the season with what you think are 3 not automatic. There's no automatic wins, but close to automatic wins are very probable wins. And then I think you start the season with 3 highly probable losses, or mostly, at least right now. We have no idea what Florida will look like at the end of the year, but we can assume Florida State will probably be an underdog there. And then Miami or Notre Dame, whoever you want to throw in is a probable loss. And then in the middle, the gray area, that's where the season is defined. You got those 6 games that maybe aren't coin tosses, but are close. You got anywhere from a 45% to a 60% chance of winning those games, probably. And that's where you got to live. And if you can play well in those games, then that's the difference between 5-7 and 8-4. So it's like they say when a baseball season starts, not counting the Diamondbacks this year. But every team starts a baseball season with 60 wins and 60 losses. You're always going to win about 60 games, even if you're terrible. And even if you're awesome, you're going to lose about 60 games. It's those other 100 or whatever that would be, 40. Is that right? Like, do some math, Clark. Those 42 other games, which is where it defines if you make the playoffs or not and what kind of season you have. So that's where you are. I think they're not going to win more than 9, and they're not going to win less than 3. Right there in that sweet spot, man. That's why 5.5 is a good number. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of lean maybe a little bit right now towards the over.
Let's go, Corey. Let's go.
A little bit towards the over right now, I think.
That's why this show's better than Seminole headlines. Corey saves us great metaphors for this show. I like that whole baseball one. I'm just kidding. Headlines it's the Don. It's the Godfather of all podcasts.
The GOAT.
Bah. All right. Assuming we are a better football team, do you see us going better than 5-2 in that stretch? Then we have Miami and Notre Dame at home, UNC on the road, and, of course, Florida and Clemson on the road. Corey, this would be the time for you to rant about those 2 games being road games. So the way I see it...
can't do that anymore.
So the way I see it, we need to play well in these coin flip games and pull off a couple upsets to get to 7 wins. That's why you got to take you almost have to take the if you're going to say that, and I'm not picking on Mark, love you, man, but like if you're going to say that you need to play well in your coin flip games and pull off a couple upsets to get to 7, under that lens, the Vegas line makes sense, is what he says. Yeah, then you have to take the under. But the ever-optimist in me, Mark says, sees 8 wins if the defense is serviceable and your quarterback duo stays healthy, makes everyone around them better. Looking forward to your take. Go Noles. I can't go into a season thinking Florida State's going to win less than 5 games. So I'd have to take the over just for my own sanity. But my money...
Well, they could win 5 games. It's less than 5.5.
Right. I'm sorry, you're right. 5.5. But for my money, though... man, I gotta look at Wake's roster. I don't want to give Wake Forest too much credit here. I know they don't have Jamie Newman any longer, but they didn't have Jamie Newman last year, and they were still a pretty solid team, man.
If Florida State went 6-6 this season, would you consider that a disappointment?
No, but I can't be excited though.
I'm asking because I think there's a lot of people that would. Like, a lot of people would envision this season, even with a pretty difficult schedule, at least from an ACC perspective, if they went 6-6, if they lost 6 games again this season, a lot of people would feel disappointment in that. It's certainly not happy about it. But that even if you would be disappointed and they still would hit the over. So I guess that's my thought. Is like I just think the floor is a little bit higher than maybe other people do. I think the floor is 5 wins. And if the floor is 5 wins and you only need 1 extra win on top of that, I don't know. I would be apt. If I was a gambling person, which I'm not, come on, guys, what are we doing?
Yeah. Spend your money on the Luna coffee instead.
Exactly. I would probably hit the over just because I think me personally, and I've been wrong before, folks, I think 5 wins is the floor for this team this year.
I just wonder how far off we are from this team being the program that just recruits better than everybody else in the conference. Even though it didn't show out that way on the field, all these other recruiting sites talk about how Florida State, over like a 5-year window from 13 to 18 or 12 to 17, out-recruited Clemson. So when we sit here and we talk about this team, we look down at Louisville, we look down at NC State, we look down at Wake Forest with, we should. I mean, it's Florida State. You've won 3 national championships. You've won them all in the last 30 years. That's impressive. These teams are not in your neighborhood. They're in your conference, unfortunately, but they're not in your neighborhood. We look down on them. But then, all these transfers, Florida State is going to get better year over year, new coaching staff, et cetera, et cetera. Now, these teams are going to get better, too. Like, Louisville's not going to just stay the same. I guess you're hoping they get worse. Like, these staffs, like, I like Satterfield probably too much. Clawson has shown himself to be a really good football coach. Dave Dorn's just a sneaky, we're going to win 7 or 8 games every other year, and we're going to, dishevel somebody's season. But I guess the hope you're thinking is that those teams the last 2-3 years that you've been playing them and struggling against them, have they been playing closer to their ceiling than what Florida State's ceiling could be? Or, again, is this roster so flawed that we cannot simply say it's NC State? We had a bad down year last year. We're going to get better, and that'll make up the difference in what we've seen the last 2 years playing them.
I don't know. I think you could look at NC State and Wake and be like, all right, well, if they can win 6 games, come on, man.
Yeah.
They haven't, it's not like Doran is reinvented the sport. It's Wake Forest and NC State and Louisville. So if those teams can win games, I know Louisville's had not a great season, but Satterfield's first season was pretty good. There's no reason you can't. At some point, Florida State will get off the deck, man. It has to. If you believe this is the right guy, if you believe that these transfers can play, I mean, at some point, we're not asking you to go beat Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State, but by God, on some sleepy Saturday in the middle of September, you can roll your ass up to Winston-Salem and win a game. We're not asking for something outrageous. Anyway, sorry for the A word there, guys. I meant to say but, and I got a little riled up.
That was amazing. I loved it. C-Swizzle 8. If a full spring practice is beneficial for the whole team, what are the chances that the offensive line is better than we expect? Specifically, guys Norvell recruited like Estes, and Herring. I don't know. Willie gets a little bit of Herring, probably. What happens if we don't pick up another transfer offensive lineman? Would you go defensive end or wide receiver? I don't know what everybody's expecting, but I would probably say the offensive line is going to be better than that because I've seen too many comments in the threads that are going on the Warchant about who's going to be the quarterback, what the offense is going to look like, and a whole bunch. It doesn't matter if the offensive line still is not good. There's too much of that for me to then say the offensive line's going to play up to fans' expectations. I think they're going to be better than what most fans think. So the chances of them being better, I think, I don't know how you could grade it. I guess we'll look at Pro Football, folks. Whatever the grade they got last season, I don't know. If somebody wants to bet me on something, loser leaves town match, it'll be better than last year. Even though they're going to play Clemson and Florida in a full 12 games, I still think it'll be better. Like, I don't know. I like Alex Atkins. I like Alex Atkins a lot. I think they'll be more physically developed. If it's Jordan, either of these quarterbacks are also going to be better, which is going to make this offensive line look better as well. So either Jordan Travis is going to have a full 12 games to run around like a maniac and make everybody's life miserable, or you're going to have a guy like Mackenzie Milton who knows how to operate an offense and get the ball out quickly and knows where the ball has to go, and they're not going to have to pass pro for huge parts of time.
Yeah, I think the offensive line can be average to a little bit above average, maybe if they reach their ceiling. Which again, 2 years ago, you would have sacrificed some goats to get to average. I thought last year they were better than we anticipated. They still weren't good, but they were better than we anticipated. And it's not like they lost somebody incredible off that offensive line. So there's no reason to think they won't be at least a little bit improved just from the nature of a year older, stronger, better, and one more year with Atkins, who we all seem to think we all like. So yeah, I think the offensive line can be better. Will it be good? No. But it can be good enough to beat the teams you need to beat. It won't be good enough for Clemson.
So we all love most of us. I saw somebody saying the 2013 offensive line wasn't nearly as good as we say they were, which is just like, come on, everybody. Like, what's the last time Florida State had a good offensive line? It was like 2014 good?
the second half of the season, once they made the change and put Irving at center, it took out Hofield.
Yeah.
Hofeld. Once they took him out and then put Roderick Johnson at left tackle and Irving to center, yes, they were good. Watch the Florida game. Just look at Dalvin Cook's numbers once they made that change. Jameis was busy throwing picks, and they were still scoring 30-something points a game, and Cook was running for 150 yards. He was going to run for 200 yards in the playoff game if he didn't start fumbling. So no, they were. That's the last time I would say they had a good offensive line. Since then, it's been anywhere from average to an insult to college football.
See, I think 14. I still think that was above average.
No, I did. 14 was above average, especially once they made the change.
That's what I'm saying. So
it was good.
Good is going to be better than anything we've seen since then, right? Like, wouldn't good be better than anything we've seen since 14?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know that the 1 year they had Roderick Johnson and Kareem Orr on the left side, that wasn't a terrible offensive line. But yeah, again, it was like a slow, like a stock going down, and then it just like it hit grease or something and went straight down. It was on the way down in 15 and 16, and then just fell completely into the ocean.
S. Quinn 67. Wake up! Doldrums of summer are upon us. We are Cam Irving days away from playing football. Probably even closer now. FSU not playing in Omaha just makes the offseason seem longer. Ain't that the truth? I don't want to take success away from any other program, but man, them playing in Omaha extends our calendar to cover actual legitimate sporting events that are happening. And it makes everybody's job, life, your experience as a subscriber better. So even if you don't like baseball, start rooting for them. I don't know if you saw this text message that Ira sent to us during the show, which is just disrespectful, Ira. We're trying to be pros here and work, and you're texting us. So I can't wait for this to happen. Link Jarrett from Notre Dame on the short list for LSU, their vacancy. So,
okay, they going to go the Notre Dame route again?
Why not?
Is that their farm team? Just whoever can win at Notre Dame, come on down to Baton Rouge?
I mean, gosh, it's like, I would think FSU football is like LSU baseball or vice versa. They're going after Jay Johnson from Arizona, Cliff Godwin from East Carolina, and Link Jarrett. It's like three.
I would think Godwin from East Carolina. They've been a solid program for a number of years now. I assume he's been the head coach there during that stretch.
Yeah, since 15, I think. He was at Ole Miss in 14 when they made it to the College World Series for the first time in like 40-something years. He's the goods. He's legit. Good for LSU for being a blue blood and being able to find people that live up to your program standards. Yeah. I appreciate the top 40 impact player countdown. Thank you, S. Quinn. Appreciate it. It gives us insight into what you guys think of our players and what position groups should help us in 2021. My question for the week, by the end of the season, how many of our starting 22 do you each think will be transfer players? How about them Noles?
12? 10 or 12?
Yeah, I mean, it would be bad podcasting if we sat here and really went through
we won't do it, but just know who's coming. Devontae Love-Taylor for sure, Parchment for sure, Gibbons probably. So 2 on the offensive line for sure. Obviously Jermaine Johnson, Keir Thomas, Jamie Robinson. So now you're at 6. Yeah. Jordan Travis if he wins the job.
Well, your quarterback either way, right? They're both transfers.
Oh, yeah. I guess that doesn't matter. Yeah, so you're at 7 there. Maybe a running back. Maybe another receiver if they get one, or another defensive end if they get one, or another offensive lineman if one comes. Man, you're looking at
you tack on one, because if they have a scholarship open, whoever they're going to use it on, I would imagine is going to be a starter.
Right.
Barring
Fabian
injury.
Lovett.
Yeah.
Fabian Lovett would probably start, I would imagine.
Correct.
So, you're looking at Jashawn Corbin, if you want to count him. I mean, you're looking at, at least 10. Yeah, like Jarian Jones is in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
where they are.
50,
that's where the recruiting was.
A lot.
That's where the recruiting was 2-3 years ago.
Yep. Wow, that was a good question. We went through it that quickly. All right, let's keep going, though. We got 3 more. ATX Nole, hi, guys. Kudos to the job you guys are doing over the summer. Thank you. Appreciate that. Random question. I listen to pretty much all of the FSU podcasts out there. I've heard on another podcast, to be nameless, of course, but is there beef between websites or different FSU podcasts out there? I heard a few disses and was curious why. I would think there are enough different takes and insight that the, quote, everybody can eat mindset would be welcomed. Just wanted your guys' thoughts. Keep up the good work as always, and go Noles. We haven't dropped it. Have we dropped a diss track? Have we gone to the lab and put somebody on
I don't
wax?
think so. I don't think I don't have. Look, man, I don't listen to any of them. Like I know Brendan and I know Chris and E. I've known them for a long time. Yeah. I would consider them friends, really, or friendly. I mean, they're on my phone. I hang out with them. I'll go get a beer with them. So I have no ill will towards them at all. But I just don't listen to their shows. Look, man, I don't know how anybody could. If you did what we did to then go and listen to other FSU podcasts, that'd be a lot. But no, I don't know of any. We certainly haven't started any beef, have we? I mean, we could. It could make the summer go faster, make it a little more entertaining if we started a beef with another podcast. There's enough out there. Yeah. We could it could be like an Uzi. We just spray down everyone. Oh, wow. We just spit venom and fired all of them, Aslan, and see what happens. Starting with headlines.
I like it. Take that.
Starting with headlines.
Head of the snake. Take out the head of the snake. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they don't listen to us, and I don't listen to any other FSU podcasts either. And I saw something about, it's like the average podcast listener listens to 4 or 5 different podcasts in a week, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I'll listen to...
I do that. I listen to probably more than that, probably.
Yeah.
On my walks and whatnot.
I don't know if it was 4 or 5, like, from the same... I don't know if they're all from the same genre, but I get it. I mean, if you're a subscriber to Warchant, I mean, you're spending money to get news about Florida State and to share your opinion on it with other like-minded people. So you have a voracious appetite for this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but legitimately, I would tell you. I would tell you if there was somebody I didn't like, or if I thought somebody was bad at it. There isn't. I don't know of all the podcasts that are out there. I know Chris and Brendan have one, and I like those guys. They're nice. They've always been nice to me, and I would consider us friends. So that being said, they're the worst. Don't ever listen to that podcast again. Right.
Well, Brendan actually took a shot at the show on Twitter a few months, like last year, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
I feel like it was good-natured, but Brendan's so awkward you never know.
There you go. That's better. I remember, like, when I work in TV, like, we'd all be, most of us would be kind of standing on the same part of the sideline, filming highlights from whether it's a high school game or a college game, and if it's a high school game, somebody would be like a parent would be walking on the sideline. They'd come up and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, like, watch you guys all the time." And it's like, do you though? Like, you watch all of us? Like, you can say that, hey, Travis, like, watch you all the time. Like, I would admire more when people would come up and it would be me and like 2 of the other guys, and they'd be like, "Hey, TJ, love you, man. Watch you every night." Like, oh, cool. Like, yeah. Then people would come and try to say, like, "Oh, I watch all you guys all the time." It's like, no, you don't. You can't. We pretty much are on air at the same exact time.
You didn't just say thanks?
No, you're lying. Why would I say thanks to liars? I'm as competitive. I'm competitive. I'm like, you should watch us. You should watch me.
I will say this. I forgot about front row Noles. Like, I despise Tom Block.
Seriously, KJ.
But Tom Block is the worst.
Ugh.
So that's the one, though. That's the only one.
Tom and KJ are amazing. Great human beings. That was sarcasm. Everyone should hopefully they realize that. If you listen to this, if you've been listening to us talk for 42 minutes in the middle of June, you know what Corey is and how he talks.
Yes. Yeah.
So the only thing I will say, and I don't want to say it because then it sounds like it's a shot. Yeah, I'm like,
yeah, don't say it then.
It's a shot. Okay. Random _ John. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. Back to the over-unders. Here we go. Vegas sets the line 5.5. Can you think of the last time an FSU game was called a win at half of the game? I can't remember the last time FSU was given credit for half of a win, but what do I know? Oh. That's Random John's humor. We know Random John.
Got it. I got you. Hey, I'm on there, John. I thought he was saying when was the last time Florida State had a big enough lead at halftime. But I got what you're saying, buddy.
When did we blow? When's the last time we blew a big lead? Boise State, probably, right?
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
The year before,
just shut it down. Be like, yeah, we're done. We're good. We're taking the dub.
Yep, that should have counted as half a win. They won half that game.
Oh man. Also, all right,
convincingly, they won that first half convincingly. Aslan,
they did 31-13. 31.
I want to say, and it was 31-6 at one point.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Well.
Imagine that, man. Oh, the tweets that I sent, the tweets that I didn't send that got stuck in my drafts folder at the first half of that game. Just, somebody, call Bobby's statue builder. Let's get Kendall fitted. Didn't work out. All right, what do the line setters of Vegas know that the local legends of Warchant do not? Listening and reading here, there are messages of hope. Look at all the new talent FSU has. We're going to be better. Then Vegas comes behind you, pulls a Lee Corso, says, not so fast. They say FSU, at best, will be average. Maybe a mysterious half game better than average. So should we fans treat our football with hope and get let down, or do we just accept what and who we are now? Honestly, who is right, Warchant or Vegas? Oh,
well,
I should have read this first question. This is amazing, Random John. You're getting a timestamp dedicated just for your question alone. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, but I don't think if you listen to this show in particular, you would think that we think this team is going to be good. You know what I mean? Like, we're not predicting 9 wins. I think both of us kind of lean towards maybe 7. Well, 7 and 6. Like, to bet the over, you have to think Florida State's going to win 6 games. That's what Vegas wants. They want you to bet. They want to get money on both sides, and they want you to bet either Florida State's going to win 5 or they're going to win 6, and they want money on it. So that's what the 5.5 line is, which I think is a really good number. But I personally would have put the line at 6.5. That would have been my line for this. So I don't think that we're that far off from Vegas. I think if you get a couple good breaks, you could win 8. If you get a couple bad breaks, you could win 5, I guess, 4 or 5. But nobody on this show, I think, is predicting, a New Year's 6 bowl or anything.
But I think within this exercise, like, a whole nother win is a big deal. I mean, I guess you can't go with a whole number, so you can't just say 6 because they
because I would have put it at 6. But you got to use a half to get action on both sides. So there's not a lot of pushes. So you got to use a half. But I would think if I put it at 5.5 that Florida State's a pretty public team. Not to get in the weeds on Vegas and gambling, but you're going to get a lot of action on the over, is my opinion. And you could lose it's a Vegas. They're not going to go broke, but you could lose some money if Florida State goes 6 and 6. I think you're going to get a lot more action on the over than the under. Now, if you'd have put it at 6.5, I think you probably get equal or maybe a little more on the under. I don't know. That's just me spitballing, but that's why I would have put it at 6.5. But either way, I view anywhere from 6 to 8 wins is what this team is capable of. So I don't think I'm that far off. I don't think we're that far off Vegas.
Corey explained it really well. I mean, the number, there's not a lot of emotion in it. There's some emotion because you know that people are going to, Florida State's a brand. Some people are going to be like, either it's Florida State 5.5. Like, yeah, they can win more than that. It's Florida State. And then you have your other segment of the college football population that's like, they won 3 games last season. So even if they win 2 more, which is a lot to ask of a team that only won 3, you're still at the under. I'm going to take the under. So you get a good, healthy balance of people playing both sides of that line. I really do love that question. Maybe I can reach out to somebody at one of these sports books, see if they'll come on and talk about it. Because I do wonder when he says about, who knows? Like, who's right? Is it us or Vegas? Because Vegas should know all this, right? Like, Vegas should know they probably are going to have a half dozen new starters, most of them from Power 5 programs, and they actually performed really well. Their quarterback is either going to be a guy that played remarkable the last time he was healthy and is now 2 years removed from all this madness, or a guy that showed some really big play-making ability. I wonder how much research they're doing right now, but this is the time where they make their money and set these lines. So you would figure they know these rosters and all these variables inside and out. Or do they not? They're not in the line of work to not know everything inside and out, and they're totally objective.
Know.
They're totally objective.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no emotion.
And again, I just think when you look at that number, and Florida State fans might be, oh gosh, I thought we were going to win 8 games, and Vegas thinks we're going to win 5.5. Again, it's not. Vegas is trying to get the most amount of money bet on the line as possible, but also, look again. You might have, if you're in 5 games in the fourth quarter and you lose 3 of them, So you finished with 5 wins when you were that close to finishing with 8 wins. I don't know that Vegas handicapped it correctly as much as just that's sports. I don't think that you can just say that Vegas thinks Florida State is going to be terrible or that Warchant thinks Florida State is going to be a lot better than Vegas. I think we're like-minded. I think Florida State's due some breaks, everyone. I think they're going to win a couple of coin toss games, which they haven't made a habit of doing in recent years, and they can get to 7 or 8 wins. 8 wins might be an overreach, but you never know. 7 to 8 wins. Vegas wants you to, I guess, bet that they're going to go 5 and 7. Which I just don't think if you listen to our show, you would think we would be. I hope I haven't come across as I would be stunned if they went 6 and 6 or 5 and 7. Because I wouldn't be. There's so many unknown. Listen to us reading this list of the top 40 and the way I talk about it. There's a lot of, in Aslan, the way we both talk about it, a lot of unknowns, a lot of hope, and not a lot of concrete, factual information. Yeah, this guy's a good football player. So
we do. We're hedging a lot, though, because we sit here and we talk about Jermaine Johnson's going to be amazing, but then we also kind of hedge it with, it's still just one guy. They've had really good pass rushers. Hasn't worked out the way you would think it would. Yeah, man.
But I don't think that's talking out of both sides of our mouth or sitting on the fence. I think Jermaine Johnson's going to be their best defensive football player. I would also tell you that's not a high bar to clear.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just, I think the offense will be better than it was last year. Again, that's a ridiculously low bar to clear, though. I think they will be a better football team. But yeah, they also play a tougher schedule. And how much better? Can they double their win total? Oh, I think they can. But you know what, folks? I might be wrong. That's how you sit on the fence, Aslan.
Clemson's over-under is 11.5. And these are regular season over-unders, everybody. This doesn't count postseason. This doesn't count bowls, playoff, conference championship
really?
games. None of that. They're
'Cause they played
11.5. I know. That's what I'm trying to say, man.
I
talk
would bet the under on that.
That's what I'm saying. How could you put the over? That's what my whole argument, my whole internal debate with. You give Vegas the benefit of the doubt. They surely know what they're talking about, and they do want to get juice on both sides of a proposition. But Clemson, 11.5. I mean, they have to run the table. They have to run the table to clear that. It's bizarre. We'll see, Random John. Right now, I can't think about it. I need somebody to give flashcards. All right, make it $64,000 pyramid. You got 20 seconds. Here are 12 flashcards, and you just pull out each team. Here's boom, at Wake Forest, win or lose, just go. We'll do that maybe at some point, and that would be. I can't think about it. Because then I'll sit on the fence. I'll be you never know. I just want to, bam, flash reaction.
How about we say Florida State's range of winning games is probably 5 to 8?
I think 5 to 7.
That's fair, right?
Man. But yeah, all right, sure. 8. Let's make people hope a little bit. Last one. XDQ004. It's Derek, y'all. Wake up. Good morning, fellas. As we move closer to the start of the season, I have a question. When was the last time we had an important opening game like Notre Dame we have this season? I was looking back. I can just think of 2 times. 2 times. Sorry, I couldn't read that. Alabama. That was a measuring stick game. Not so much that it was a must-win, but it gave us a barometer of where we were as a program. Second, 1988 Miami. We knew if we won that game, we would more than likely be playing for a national championship. What say you? As always, support the sponsors at Go Noles. Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, there's been a lot of them, though. I wouldn't just leave it to those 2. 91, they played BYU and the Heisman Trophy winner out in California, Ty Detmer. They've had some openers that weren't easy. Pitt, I thought, was going to be a really hard game back 8 glorious years ago. It didn't turn out to be, and it turned out to be the dawn of something. But, it's an important one. But Ole Miss was important. They've had a lot of opening games that have been pretty large. Virginia Tech, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's what I've been complaining about for years. They just want to start the season with these big, huge juggernauts. And frankly, since Ole Miss, they lose them all. And so you start off, you're always in the hole first week of September.
Well, I think
First week of September, you've already agonized the fan base, and the players have lost confidence, and you're in this hole. You can't flip them. Play Notre Dame week 2. Like, think about 2010 if Jimbo had opened with Oklahoma.
Oh, boy.
Instead of getting the gimme game with Sanford. Okay, so they just got crushed by Oklahoma. It looked embarrassing. Oklahoma could have scored 100 points if there wasn't a Stoops on the other sideline and they took it easy. Well, all right, you're still 1-1, though. Still feeling good. Go win the next game. All right, you're 2-1. You're building something. Florida State is always 0-1. Always.
Stop it.
They have the long them and it's Oregon State or Washington State, one of the two.
No,
Oregon State.
Oregon State. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the only teams in the country that have started off the last 4 years 0-1. And pretty good chance, not a great chance, but a pretty good chance. This will be the 5th straight year.
Well,
But then next year, I think they played Duquesne, right? Aren't they playing Duquesne before LSU?
Sounds right.
Didn't they finally get that hint? So yeah, it's just been rough with these. I get what they were doing at the time they scheduled them, but man, it's rough to start with these when you're trying to rebuild something. You're always starting. It reminds me. Remember Virginia? Forever. They might still be doing. I don't know who they're playing this year. Maybe they're playing Alabama. But every year Virginia would schedule these ridiculously tough non-conference games.
That's Miami. I think doesn't Miami play Alabama?
Yeah, Miami's got Alabama this year, but I don't know who Virginia has non-conference. Right. I assume maybe they're playing the Bills, but they always scheduled somebody really hard. Like they're going across the country to play USC in their heyday.
Right.
Like
that was Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech did that. I remember.
No, Virginia did too.
Did they?
Oh yeah, Virginia for years have made a point of traveling. In playing these really hard non-conference games, whether it's BYU or USC or whoever.
That's how you become an iconic brand.
Right, it's like you're Virginia. Just go stack up some wins.
Right.
Do what NC State does. Play 3 tomato cans to start the season, and you might build some hope and excitement in the fan base and the players. And that's kind of where Florida State is. It would be nice if they could start off with Duquesne and Samford and Troy. But no, they got Notre Dame. Yeah. So it's that said, it is a very big game, in my opinion, because of what it would say about the direction of the program. Win or lose, don't get obliterated, don't get embarrassed, and maybe prove that you're doing something here.
I'll say it's a top 5 opener. I agree with 17 Bama, and I'll throw 88 Miami in there. I just want to give myself a little bit of wiggle because, to Corey's point, is the fact I think the more these openers keep stacking up as losses until – I mean, Duquesne's never going to be that big of a deal. But like this Notre Dame game, there's so much riding on it because they've been 0-1 for the last 4 single seasons. If they do beat Notre Dame, you're not only beating a conference team, quote unquote. I mean, you're beating a team that was in the playoff last year. All the other variables off the field, this new coaching staff, needing momentum, keeping this recruiting class together, the amount of goodwill you will get this everything, the entire season, like everything we're talking about right now. We're sat here and we talked 20 minutes about 5.5 wins and losses. You beat Notre Dame, you're thinking the moon. I'm not even kidding. If they beat Notre Dame, I will probably use the word playoff in a non-ironic fashion in the Monday show after that. It's that big of a deal.
I'm not going to let you do that.
Well, whatever. The Virginia Tech game was an afterthought. We thought they were going to roll through Virginia Tech. And then in the moment before kickoff, it felt like this huge cathartic moment. Everybody was uniting behind this coach and this new dawn image of this program, and it all kind of came collapsing down, and then the season worked out the way it was. And then you can go back and say, hey, if they would have challenged that that first and goal play and gotten a touchdown. And, in hindsight, we started kind of talking about how important that Virginia Tech game was. But, man, going to this Notre Dame game, the urgency of it and what it could possibly mean for the season is a huge deal. But at the same time, we know that this is not a national championship caliber team. So if they lose it, you really haven't – I mean –
It's also – you don't know, anything. But it might be a fragile team, man. Like you
That's
hope
why they
that
need to win.
It's why you don't need to play Notre Dame. Like my point being though, you hope that he's building something where they're tougher. They have a tougher mindset. That was certainly not the case last year. Anytime something went wrong, it went drastically wrong and stayed wrong. So they did not get over that mental hurdle as a football team. You hope maybe this year they have a little more some moxie, whatever you want to call it, some toughness, mental toughness, fortitude, and they can handle when things go wrong and pick themselves up and compete in the second half and go and maybe come back and win a game. That would be nice to see. But, right now you still have a lot of dudes on this team that have never won. I think it helps. You've infused, apparently half the starting 22 is going to be guys that weren't there for Virginia Tech. So maybe those awful feelings don't start coming back. But, man, it'd be nice if they showed some mental fortitude. But, look, if they get down 14-0 to Notre Dame, I want to see what this team's about as far as, and I don't know why we're talking, we're Cameron Irving days away, but, or maybe at this point we're Rick Leonard. I don't know. I don't know how far away we are. But I want to see if they can get off the deck, man. And because right now you would say not only are they very good, they haven't shown themselves to be that tough mentally. And it would be cool if that could at least change. But right now, because we haven't seen anything else, we can assume they might still be a little mentally fragile. And hopefully Norvell can completely get that out of this program.
That's the thing. I mean, that's why if you win this game, just imagine what it'll do. And then this is the thing about college sports, that you're constantly churning through your roster and these players are leaving. But, man, we talked about they gave up on Willie or whatever. I mean, I feel like we almost ask too much from our subscribers to grab our hands and follow us through all this nonsense, all this sludge, and like, it's going to be okay this season. Like, get back excited, love your team, love your program, check out warchant.com, subscribe, and read all these great things that we do. I almost feel like we're asking a lot from our subscribers. Imagine what you're asking these players year after year to constantly get back in the weight room, get back out there in the middle of July and run player-run practices in 90-something degree heat. Believe in us. It's asking a lot. 2018, you get waxed on national television against Virginia Tech. You look absolutely inept. 2019, you have a huge lead on Boise State. Everything is turned around. Good times are back. You get humiliated in the second half. You fall apart. Hydration, possibly an issue. Last season, you open up with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, true freshman quarterback. This is a piece of cake. You muster 13 points, 13 against Georgia Tech. These are the openers. It is tough to start a season and keep it going after you sustain something like that in week one. You have to beat Notre Dame. You have to. I mean, you don't have to. That's a huge ask, but the importance of beating Notre Dame cannot be overstated. The UNC game, I thought, would be a huge turning point.
No, and it wasn't. As soon as something bad happened against Louisville, here we go again, and that was the end of the game.
So, anyhow, we're Juwan Williams days away from the opener, so perfect.
Nice.
Perfect. Nice. All right, we're done, but there's plenty of stuff going on at Florida State. Lots of recruiting, again, as we said. Check out the replay of the Michael Langston recruiting show on YouTube, and do check out the website because recruiting news is urgent and pressing at this time of season. We'll be camping out at Moore, snapping photos, performing interviews of all the top recruits that are visiting Florida State this weekend. So, warchant.com, promo code warchant30. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to us for another week of Wake Up Warchant, presented by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.